blessed love and peace. We done just missed the bus, so we gotta wait to be lazy and ride on this day pass that done already been burnt. So this is an opportunity to share consideration at this moment rather than waiting later and spend further hours of this evening not getting sleep. And the affirmation of let's do it now so we can get further sleep later. How about that? So on the streets where we don't sleep, bringing out devices, but it's okay because we look hardcore carrying a Wolf football with us. Ooh, that's sarcasm. We got to be careful about that. So anyway, continuing on, a few things to share. First of all, this is another public service announcement, and again, it's in English. C'est en anglais, et n'est-ce pas? C'est très cher. C'est très cher. Il faut que le monde marche avec nous. La terre, la terre, la terre. This joint is expensive. What is required is land for the establishment of Kutuhaun, Mélanger Kutuhaun, Funabrazo Kutuhaun, Aomi Kutuhaun, Aomi. It's a type of peoples. It's a type of peoples that does Unobrazo culture. That being said, here we go. Here's the first thing. All right, now this is a public service announcement. Probably shouldn't lead with this one, but it's what we're leading with. We are called to share this one. We have to be careful now. We're in the nighttime too. It's a nighttime vibration. Ain't a lot of time to be jokey because things is static. It's DEFCON orange maybe at the moment. Orange is yellowish. Is that the way it goes? Orange, yellow, red. Is that how it is? I think so. Okay. So we're orange right now. Orange is yellowish. So it's like, yeah, it don't be time to be too jokey about that, even though this is our nature. Light heart, comparative indifference, and so forth. So, what we share at this moment, public service announcement, is this. This is strong. And again, this is one of them joints not a lot of people can articulate and expect to live to see the next day. We are called, I am called at this moment, to be one of them brethren that venture to do such, Elohim willing. So here it is. And this is directed specifically, particularly, to young brethren and sistren. Young brethren and sistren. And we're talking 20-year-old, 19-year-old, 18-year-old, 17-year-old, 16-year-old, 15-year-old, 14-year-old. Ooh-dee. Serious. Them brethren them and them sistren them that roll on them automatic devices, automatic scooters, automatic skateboards, automatic wheelie-doos, automatic bicycles and such, fast and speedy like on the sidewalks, breezing by brethren, sistren, aunties and uncles, elders and such, in comparatively dangerous and indifferent ways. The message is be careful, because you're about to get smacked upside your head carrying on like that. You're about to be smacked upside your head carrying on like that. Woeful indifference to the well-being of others, inconsideration, danger of injury. And it's not even a matter of giving a fuck. It's not a matter of you not giving a fuck. It's not even at that level. You don't even have fucks to give, to even know to give a fuck or not to give a fuck. And that's what the problem is. It's like zero regard for other life at all. Not even knowing to have regard, not even knowing what that is. Robotic. So, again, caution. You're about to get smacked upside your head. Boom, case in point, right there. About to get smacked upside your head. We're not threatening that. We're not promising that. We're not wishing that. Again, from our side, we are prohibited from striking, from intentionally striking others. That includes smacking. For any such purposes. That doesn't mean we can't do it. We are prohibited from doing it. We're prohibited from doing a lot of things. And if we ever do such, we have heightened penalties against ourselves for doing that. So, it is a cautionary message of karma, conditions, and further considerations. Oh, he's so hardcore wiping his nosies. Not trying to be hardcore. Endeavoring to oblige the obligation of communicating the message. Simply as that. That's what our responsibility is. And understand the severity of the conditions. Because when we see kinfolk, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 years old, that don't even, like whiz by people, elders, people with canes, and other kinfolk, like litter, like flying by, like kinfolk are just litter, breezing by, not factoring in adjustments and sudden movements and what happens, can't stop in time. What's interesting, I have yet to see collisions. However, it's too close, breezing by so that scraping shoulders, and additionally, no. At 15, 20 miles per hour, no. And again, adults, regular adults, most adults ain't got time to say it, ain't got the discipline to say it, because they know even just a nasty look from a young folk with all that young folk energy and comparative innocence is enough to disintegrate many adults. I ain't imperfect. I ain't invincible. I ain't perfect. I have some kind of ability to articulate this, so that's what this is. Caution. And it's not a matter of contest. It's not a matter of conquering. It's not a matter of being better than or worse than. It's not a matter of subjugation or of deprivation of liberation. It's a communication of the situation. Because the smack ain't coming from us, and that's what the challenge is. The smack can actually be very quiet and slow, even soft. But the thing about it is when and if it ever happens, when and if the message is not heeded properly, ain't no guarantee of you waking up, and amidst waking up, ain't no guarantee of you getting up afterwards. We're hearing dry coughs at the moment. We're not wishing harm or injury, pain or affliction on anyone. But kinfolk are out of their minds, drunk on these things, and void. So for those who have some type of semblance of sense, encouragement for consideration of the caution and sharing it. And you are actually safer riding in the streets than on the sidewalk, because yes, there's craziness. One of the leading causes of death in the world and in the United States particularly is car accidents. So it's dangerous doing the devices in the streets, but at the same time, it's actually safer in life than breaking somebody's leg, breaking an auntie's leg or otherwise. Because the pain that kinfolk experience when causing that, in the long run, can be expected as being much further tenacious and unforgiving. So, anyways, that's the caution. With love, and peace. So, caution. That being said, communicating on another note about how the game done changed, and what is shared is with the kinfolk with sister recently, an additional kinfolk, is this: the game done changed. And to describe how the game done changed, we can talk about what ain't nothing new. So what ain't nothing new is somebody of brown skin, and particularly of African and discernible African heritage, nappy hair, kinky curly, and otherwise inclined, walking along the streets, and other kinfolk of other ethnic proclivities, north, east, west, middle, and south, not even looking, not even considering, not valuing the brethren and sistren of African ancestry. Not worth it. Don't even acknowledge, not even worth it. That's what ain't nothing new. Now, how the game done changed is this: walking as a person of African ancestry. Do you know who we know in Uganda, Kenya, Ethiopia, Ghana, Nigeria, Senegal, Zulu, South Africa, Xhosaland? Do you know who we know? Do you know who you know in China, India, Britain, France, Deutschland, Russia, Greece, Brazil, Guarani land? Do you know who you know? And do you know who you know who wants to know who we know in Ghana, Nigeria, Senegal, Uganda, Kenya, Ethiopia, Zulu, South Africa, Xhosaland? Do you know who you know who wants to know who we know? What up? Facts. The game done changed, because the actuality is who you know wants to know who we know and wants to get at what's going on where who we know live, and is competing with each other to have that relationship long term. So it behooves you and who you know to know us and who we know. And for that simple reason alone, to acknowledge, to value, to say, hi, how are you? And continue on. The game done changed. Now, as I just shared with the sister earlier today, on our side, it's not a given. Just because we may know kinfolk here and there and wherever, that ain't it in and of itself. It involves relationship, respect, knowledge, discipline, honoring relationship, honoring our heritage, practicing ethics and discipline continually, regularly, ritualistically, to tend to our relationships, to honor our relationships, to honor our ancestors, to continually embody Ubuntu. Now, as I wrap that up with the sister earlier this afternoon, Assalamu alaikum to the uncle and auntie from Nigeria, and Akwaba to the auntie and uncle from Lagos. The game done changed. So that's one joint with that. Now, earlier that afternoon, this afternoon actually, within the past 8 hours, here's another joint. As we're sitting in one of the spots, there's a brethren with a badge who says, "Hi, what's going on?" Stops and chops it up. Says, "I got something for you." And what we share with the brethren is this. First of all, saying where this comes from, old school, proper respect between a man and a woman, husband and wife, waiting until marriage. And from that old school experience, within that old school experience, today, husband taking care of wife, providing food, clothing, shelter, her needs comprehensively in this life. That's his duty as a man, as a husband, as a far. Provide for his wife, his children, and himself. Food, clothing, shelter, and the comprehensive material needs of this world. That's his job, his obligation for life. For life, whether he likes it or not. Be careful who you attach to. So, recognizing that, here's the flip side. What's her obligation to him? How about this? Only one thing. And this is we can reason about this, but let's think about this. Only one thing. And this is particularly drawn from a traditional contract, old school contract. Only one obligation a wife has to her husband in this life. An orgasm. That's it. For the purpose of procreation. Maybe a few. For the purpose of having a few children. That's her obligation. No necessity of providing materiality, food, shelter, clothing, or even emotional support per se. Particularly if it ain't coming from him. There's my bus. Guess what? We're going to have to catch another one because we're in this now. It goes way quicker when we're doing something. Because otherwise, it can take hours. No, it don't take hours, but it feels like that. Anyways, we're here for the next one. What up? Because we're still on this. So, fantastic. Talking about getting sleep. That's it. Now that may sound crass. That might sound like very antithetical or whatever else, but that's the consideration. That's her only obligation. Her other obligation is to take care of the children, to nurture, provide for, educate the children of the husband and wife, the far and the more. That's her responsibility, but that's to her children, not to her husband. That's the obligation. And this is, again, looking at the contract, the traditional contract, old school contract, where it's the husband that promises everything, providing and where it comes from, promising from the shirt off his back to provide for his wife in the way that she deems satisfactory. He's the one making the promise. And she's the one agreeing to be in a relationship. And that involves raising the children. That's it. It's not to him, it's to the children. Now, as reductionist as that may seem, as crass and uncaring and uncouth as that may seem, first of all, what you talking about if you're going to criticize that assertion? Because if you're coming from an experience of secularism where over 50% of marriages are divorced anyways, what are you talking about in terms of an opinion about what marriage should be? What am I talking about if I have yet to be married in that proper way either? So kudos for that. However, continuing on, recognizing this, as we shared with the brethren earlier this afternoon, when you look at the actuality of life interaction today, the relationships or the interaction between men and women today, is that not the actuality of this moment? Men providing for the materiality of women and women providing orgasm, and that's it? Very little else? Is that not the actuality today? How we figure? Because one night stands, hookups, friends with benefits, and all that other stuff. Okay, she's giving him the orgasm. Okay, there it is. How is he giving her the money? Haha. Because either through relationship, networking, access to jobs, or cosmic deflation of his material existence, and her utilizing his knowledge and what he has accumulated in life for her own quote-unquote empowerment in society. Now that may require some further explanation, specificity, and otherwise, but when we're honest about that, and recognizing the whole democratic empowerment of women through the hierarchies of institutionalization and systemic pimpology, it is the incubus phenomenon, and that's not hate. It's not a woman's fault. She's not to blame or whatever else. It's a man for doing that to himself. But that's how it happens, and so it may not be the immediate direct quid pro quo of him writing a check, but his life afterwards deteriorates to a certain degree, and her life is increasingly quote unquote empowered. She feeds off his energy. When we're honest and literate enough to observe and articulate the nature of life and civilization, as well as oppression and predatoriness. So that's what we observe as actuality today. Now, the ideal situation is when it's loving, when it's nurturing, when it's mutual, when it's not quid pro quo, when it's respectful and affectionate, natural, organic, and healthy, intuitive, ancestral, familial, and further. That's the guidance. Meanwhile, one consideration is, particularly for brethren, is to observe. Actually, I'm going to pause for a second. To be honest, I'm not feeling it right now. I'm not feeling what I'm sharing. It's facts and as best as I can share it, but I'm not feeling it. I'm very extremely low on energy. I've got coffee. However, got little sleep. Like I said, there's high static at the moment, comparatively speaking, and so that charisma or whatever else of speaking truth and getting the vibration from that, I ain't feeling it right now. On the streets, don't even. I'm not even like mindful. I'm tripping right now, just using this and all types of like out there kind of thing. But things are in such a way. It is what it is, and so literally like I am past the time of getting the bus, but that bus arrived kind of quickly, though, to be honest, comparatively speaking, because I actually saw the first one pass by as I was approaching. So I was expecting at least like 40 minutes or so before the next one arrives, but it occurs like this, so it is what it is. Anyways, all that being said, not feeling it, so but still got further to say. So it's somewhat indifferent, or it's somewhat inconsequential if I'm feeling it. It's a matter of recognizing truth beyond what I'm feeling. When there is that feeling, that vibration, then there is peace and blessings to you.
What?
Peace and blessings to you.
You too.
Cheers. When there is that vibration, then that's somewhat further affirmation. But at the same time, that can also avail oneself to the susceptibility of manipulation as well, because there could be charismatic people who twist things out, and if kinfolk just rely upon that vibration as a way of affirmation and perception of truth, that can be misleading as well. So again, we continue on sharing it. And this one, some of it's difficult, some of it's dense, some of it is somewhat like difficult to articulate or explain outright, and then some of it is further positive and affirmational. So this is the further positive and affirmational part. Maybe wrap up with this one. So here it is. And then, again, I'm sharing in the context of relationship, but this one is actually a standalone thing for any individual. And to be honest, I should be mindful of wrapping this up soon because I'm not trying to miss another bus, to be honest. So here we go. It's about, I'll tell you where this comes from. I had a conversation with brethren earlier this week, and the kinfolk are studying finance. And amidst the conversation, what I consider sharing later, I'm feeling deja vu right now, and I've shared this since then, but I might have already shared this already. But value, how we value ourselves. That's in terms of finance. I think I did share this one before. I've been back and forth a lot. Like I said, I've been working on a little sleep. So anyways, value. How we value things in life. I mean, in finance, it's like arbitrage, currencies, valuing stock portfolios based upon expectations of dividends and returns on investment. And additionally, so I mean, finance, a huge component of finance is valuation. And the margins in those valuations. So anyways, in the same way, there is the valuation of ourselves. How do we value ourselves? And what do we value ourselves for? What do we value about ourselves? And in that consideration, like that's life. First of all, before looking at value, it's a matter of recognizing that that nature of life is suffering, purpose of life is healing. We can reason about that, but just presuming that is like kind of somewhat agreeable, quasi approximately, then in recognizing that there's some purpose in life, healing, and we all have some God-given talent to heal, it's a matter for us to discern within ourselves what that talent is. And having the talent alone is a given, to be honest. However, it's not a given in terms of offering that talent as a service to others, and particularly in a way that's valuable to others, or that's valued by others. So the complementary part of the talent side of ourselves is also skill. And skill is taking work. We got to study, we got to be an apprentice, we got to learn how to cultivate our talent, to hone it into a craft, to hone it into an actual service, a vocation in life that people value, that directly benefits people, heals people in a way that people recognize and value and provide compensation, contribution, livelihood for the ongoing continual provision of that service. That's skill with our talent. And we learn skill through study, through seeing other people who do the same thing, learning from that, practicing it ourselves. I won't say trial and error, but just practicing and perfecting continually, learning our craft in this life. So we got a God-given talent, many talents, but particularly strong talents in certain respects. Then it's a matter for us to cultivate that skill. So that's where we find our existential purpose, but then it's helpful to find it to be further narrow and further concentrated into vocation and translate that existential purpose into the daily, what we do. How do we manifest that on a daily basis? So in that process, we value ourselves for that existential, esoteric, and earthly service that we provide in this life. That healing, that God-given talent, and the skill, the work that we put in. We value ourselves for that, and we value ourselves for other things as well. But that's it. We value ourselves significantly for that. And with that being said, and with that being identified and acknowledged, then it's a matter of finding others in this life who value us for that as well. There are many people in this life who can value ourselves for things that we don't value about ourselves. If we look sexy, if we got a lot of money, or we got credentials, hookup, or whatever else, nice toys, people can value us for those things and then endeavor manipulating, pimping, and all different types of stuff over us, smooth like, nasty like, and otherwise. Value ourselves just to use ourselves for things that we don't value about ourselves, or we don't value that much, or we don't prioritize ourselves. But it can be very difficult to acknowledge that, because we get attention, we get support for that moment, for providing that thing, Lauryn Hill. So, basic point is to recognize the nature of life, to recognize our purpose in this life, and to recognize our vocation in this life. To recognize our vocation in this life, our talent, our skill, our work, our labor, our studies, our practice, our craft. And then to find those who value those things, the same things as that we value, but particularly value those things how we do. Oh, don't tell me. Oh, D. Come on now. It's been like 10 minutes. All right, thank you. It's not our bus. Wow. So, that's a thing in life. To value ourselves for the things that are healing, that are strong, that are affirmational, that carry us through life, that carry us through each day. To value ourselves for that. And then to find those who value ourselves for that as well. Not just people who give us attention for whatever, but who value us for the things that are healthy for ourselves. And that's a task in life. That's a thing. But when we find those people, to value those people accordingly, and respect and value those people for what they want to be valued for as well. That's healthy for them. Not coddling, not just being yes people, and be co-enabling or whatever else. But like know what's healthy and respectful for oneself, and value each other for that. It's not going to be a lot of people. It's not going to be a popularity contest. But it's going to be, what's that say? It's going to be nice. It's going to be so nice. Whatever. Anyway, now back to the notion about relationship. That's the same thing. And this is a beauty joint. This is a beauty joint. So what we're saying is this. Now this is for the brethren like myself, whose one of the greatest weakness is women. I'm finding further strength and sobriety, particularly amongst pretty women. And this is one of the things that's helping in that respect. And I got to be mindful of being too premature about self-congratulations, about sobriety, because anyway, what is it? Pride precedeth the fall, or however it goes, ego and all that other stuff. So, but we will share what we learn for those who can benefit from it. And it's this. When seeing pretty women, one thing is a matter of recognizing how pretty women are mean. Oh, am I saying it? Yes. And that's not hate, but I mean, it takes some reasoning explanation. But the basic joint of it is that when a woman is by herself, she has to be hard, protecting. Even when she's dainty and soft and everything, she's still got to be hard when she's by herself. And that means not being nice. That means knowing how to be mean. Even when she's 17, 18 years old or otherwise. She has to be hard, just because that's the necessity of being in this life, in this convention, amidst the predatoriness, and additionally. Because there's not a man to do that for her. Or am I being chauvinist? And additionally, that's facts. Because when a woman is tender and nurturing, thoroughly, comprehensively, 24/7ly, it's a matter of a man being that strength, that hardness, complementary, yin and yang, the perfect balance, so she can be soft and be that motherly, that nurturing, thoroughly, and trust her husband to be that element of protection for her. Otherwise, she's got to be that for herself. She can live in her father's house and live within that, but when she becomes a student, when she starts walking to classes by herself, living on a campus by herself, going to work by herself, talking with professors and bosses, and additionally by herself, she's got to be harder. And that's just the actuality. Competing, examination, and otherwise, further hardening. So That's not shade. That's just it. And in doing that, it's losing that softness, that nurturing nature. It's not absolute, but it is further. And the further pretty she is, the further harder she got to be to protect herself, because the further predators are lurking. So it's just a matter of that. That's one thing. Now let's do a flip side on that. We talk about dudes, and this one particularly applies to kinfolk such as myself. Nice brethren, nice guys. Guess what? Shut the fuck up, nice guys. Why? Because you're not protecting women. You're not providing the protection, the security that women need, particularly the genteel, soft, and nurturing women. They need roughnecks in this life. And yeah, it's nice to be with a nice guy and whatever else, but yo, when shit hits the fan and the predators come around, shove the nice guy out, that's it. Don't mean shit. Nice guy on the floor crying whilst the rude boys take his wife away. All the niceness in the world don't amount to much in that type of scenario, which is why women have that pragmatic necessity of going with the mean brethren, the rude boys, because at least, yeah, it might not be the most pleasant and maybe disrespectful and everything else like that, but at least ain't got to worry about getting snatched up by somebody who's even nastier. That's facts of life. You take the good, peace and blessings, bro. You take the good, you take the bag. You take the both, and there you have an 80s television show reference. So anyway, so that's the flip side. Pretty girls are mean. Nice dudes don't mean shit, when that's all nice dudes are. That's harsh actualities. Am I a nice dude? Some might perceive that, but I'm just out there. So that's a different category. I'm not even human. So anyway, Berserker. Continuing on. So further on that notion of evaluation, this is a beauty joint. Just going back to the beauty joint, that was a side note. But back to the beauty joint, it's this, and the bus might be coming up some because it's been about 15 minutes. So the beauty joint is this. If the buses are running like this now. The beauty joint is this, and this is very helpful for brethren. Oh, here we go. I might miss another bus. Chingy banga. Anyways, here's the beauty joint, and this is the kicker whilst we're on this joint. The beauty joint, and this is basically for brethren. And it might seem harsh for others, but this is a very beneficial thing for consideration. And like I said, I got to cultivate this further within myself. But the joint is this. The joint is this. For the righteous brethren who are still searching, like myself, I can't speak from experience of completion, but this is something that's helping in the process, particularly sobriety. When seeing attractive sistren, pretty sistren particularly, and this is for brethren who have that particularly that weakness, to recognize this. First of all, to value women for going back to the notion of like all that a woman is obliged to provide for a man as a husband is procreation, and other than that, not much anything else. Now, anything else above that is a beautiful thing, but the basics, the bottom line is like for a man not to rely or expect much in that respect from a woman, and for him to be proficient. Now that's somewhat of perhaps a cold-hearted type of thing, but like I said, the ideal is support and affection, and additionally, but to recognize that much of the obligation in marriage between the husband and wife is the husband towards the wife, and the wife towards the children. And the husband towards the children as well. So in that context, when a man is looking at a woman as a prospective wife, to value her as a mother rather than value her as a sex object and otherwise, which is very easy to do in the promiscuous, extremely seductive culture of society and otherwise, but to value a woman for what she shows as her proclivity for being a mother and how she's going to treat the children within that marriage, how she's presenting that as a first introduction. because very often a woman is presenting herself as a sexual object and competing with other women as different desirable sexual objects, and then garnering the benefits of that: attention, job offers, money, admissions, and otherwise, based upon her credentials as a sex object. And that sounds nasty. This is at 100 facts. So for men who are looking for righteousness, and for women too, to be mindful of this, to value a woman for her qualities as a mother and how she shows that, because it's going to be modest, it's going to be gentle, it's going to be feminine, those characteristics. It's not going to be her midriff, it's not going to be her cleavage, it's not going to be her legs and thighs. That's not what she's sharing with her children. That's not what makes a mother. So it's a matter of valuing a woman for those things, and then finding the women who value themselves, value a woman's self for those things as well, and presents that. And again, it's going to be modest. It's going to be a long dress. It's going to be covering up. It's not going to be showing all her curves and sexual attractiveness. It's going to be how she presents herself to her own children, to the children of others, as a way of advertising her candidacy as a wife and demonstrating how she is likely to care for her children, the children of the husband. That's what's healthy. That's what's up. That's 100. So a man looking at women in that respect, valuing women in that respect for how she presents herself as a prospective mother, valuing her for that, seeing how she values that within herself. Not even just how she presents herself in terms of if she's out at night at the spots or whatever, or if she's in family situations that are further secure, social, with family, her own family particularly, whether she's further reserved and staying with only people she knows, or if she's chopping her mouth up and getting all the types of attention from any and all peoples. Is that how one wants one's mother of their children? Considerations. So again, valuing others, valuing ourselves, each of us, men and women, whoever we may be, valuing ourselves for what's healthy about ourselves in life, for life, in each day, and then finding those who value that within ourselves as well, and investing in those relationships, tediously tending to those relationships. And then when we look for marriage, partnership, to value a man valuing a woman for her prospect of being a mother, and for a woman valuing a man for his prospect of providing materially, security, comprehensively, spiritually. Recognize you don't have to be rolling with the AR whatever, or bling bling whatever. He could be walking humble and modest and know the ways of creation, the equilibrium and the harmony. So the rhythms and the relationships of nature and the force, all our relations. So that's for her to do her observation, her research, and otherwise. And valuing a man who values himself, knowledge about himself. And am I just speaking Freudingly? This is beyond Freud, but all that. Anyways, that's it. That's what we got to share. His Majesty shows an example of that, valuing himself for those things. When he's being bribed to sell out his people for money, from Europe and Italia and France, and additionally, whilst his people are being bombed, you can have a nice villa in the south of France for life, even for your children. Just take this deal, take this contract. What you talking about? You don't know. Have you forgotten the ways of sovereigns? That's nothing. How dare you even suggest such a thing when my peoples is hurting right now? Valuing himself for that. Anyways, there's so many examples of that, but we have to do our research and honor that accordingly. And it ain't a given, and we gotta, once we learn it, we gotta live it. And we give all thanks and praise to the Most High Elohim. Blessed love, peace, and Rastafari.